20,000 years ago, on a frozen plain in what is now southern Europe, a woolly mammoth stops walking. It lifts its head. Something is wrong. A shape is moving low through the grass to its left. Then another to its right. Neither one is human. The mammoth turns to face the first shape, and in the half-second of distraction, a second shape darts in from the opposite side, snapping at its hind leg, then retreating just as fast. The animal spins again, confused, cornered, unable to decide which threat to face. And that is the exact moment a human steps out from behind a tree line, spear raised, and throws. This kill was never going to happen with a human alone. It happened because two different species with two completely different bodies and two completely different instincts had learned how to think as one. Here's the story most people know about how humans came to dominate this planet. Bigger brains, better tools, the ability to plan, to cooperate, to outthink everything around us. It's a clean story, and it's not wrong exactly, but it leaves something out. Because for most of the time period when modern humans were spreading across an ice-locked Europe, hunting animals that outweighed them by literal tons, we weren't doing it alone. In 2015, paleoanthropologist Pat Shipman noticed something strange sitting quietly in museum drawers across Europe. Skulls. 40 of them, eventually, found at sites scattered across the continent, all dated to roughly the same window in time, right as Neanderthals were vanishing from the fossil record. The skulls didn't fit cleanly into either category researchers expected. Too short a snout to be a typical wolf, too wide a brain case to be a modern dog, teeth crowded in a way that looked transitional, caught mid-change. Shipman called them wolf dogs. Not pets, not strays. Something in the process of becoming a dog, living and dying alongside the very humans who were, at that exact moment, expanding across an entire continent faster than anyone could fully explain. Her hypothesis is bold, and it reframes one of the biggest unsolved mysteries in human evolution. Maybe humans didn't outcompete the Neanderthals through brainpower alone. Maybe we had a partner Neanderthals never had. To understand why that partner would have mattered this much, you have to understand exactly how brutal Ice Age hunting actually was. A woolly mammoth could weigh 6 tons. A single kick could end a hunter's life instantly. Hunting one with a hand-thrown spear meant getting close enough to land a fatal blow and surviving the attempt. That single problem, closing the gap without dying, is the bottleneck that shaped almost every hunting strategy humans ever developed. A solo hunter has almost no good options against an animal that size. But a wolf dog does something a human physically cannot. It runs faster. It tracks scent across distances no human nose could ever detect. And most importantly, it knows, by instinct alone, how to work as part of a pack surrounding something dangerous. Darting in, pulling back, keeping a massive animal turning in circles instead of running free. That isn't a trick humans taught wolf dogs. It's a behavior wolves already had, built over millions of years of pack hunting, long before any human stood near one. Humans didn't invent the strategy, they borrowed it. What changed everything is what happened when that wolf instinct got paired with a human spear. The wolf dogs bought time, confusion, a few precious seconds where a 6-ton animal was distracted, turning, unable to commit to running in any single direction. And in those seconds, a human stepped close enough to finish what the dogs had started. Neither species could have pulled this off alone. The dog's speed and instinct solved a problem the human couldn't. The human spear solved a problem the dog couldn't. Together, they weren't just two predators hunting the same prey. They were one hunting system, split across two bodies. Researchers studying modern subsistence hunters have actually documented this exact partnership still functioning today, largely unchanged, in parts of Central Africa and Southeast Asia. The dogs track. The dogs flush animals from dense cover no human could move through quickly. The dogs hold prey at bay once it's cornered, circling and barking to prevent it from breaking loose. The human hunters wait, read the sound and movement of the dogs from a distance, and move in only at the precise moment the animal is locked in place. What's remarkable is how little instruction this requires. The dogs aren't trained step by step to perform this role. They do it because the behavior is already built into them. The humans simply learned, over generations, how to read it and time their approach around it. If something close to this was happening 20,000 years ago on the plains of Ice Age Europe, it would explain something that has puzzled archaeologists for decades. How did modern humans expand across an entire continent so quickly, successfully hunting animals that should have been nearly impossible to bring down consistently with hand-thrown weapons alone? But the hunting efficiency is only half the story. The stranger part is what this kind of partnership would have required psychologically. Cooperative hunting between two completely different species isn't just running in the same direction at the same time, it requires reading intention, in real time, under pressure, without language. A wolf dog mid-chase has to register, from posture and pace alone, whether the human behind it is closing the distance or falling back. A human has to read from a dog's body alone whether prey has been spotted, whether it's about to bolt, whether the moment to strike has arrived. Modern research on dog cognition shows just how unusually good dogs are at exactly this kind of reading. Dogs consistently outperform even chimpanzees at following a human's pointing finger or following a human's gaze towards something just out of sight. If that ability has any roots in this specific period, it suggests something extraordinary. The earliest hunting partnerships between humans and wolf dogs may have been the original training ground for a communication system that never fully disappeared. Every time a modern dog watches your hand, follows your eyes, or reads tension in your posture before you've spoken a single word, you may be looking at the leftover architecture of a hunting language built under conditions you will never personally experience. A language with no words at all, refined over thousands of years by two species learning to predict each other's next move with a mammoth's full weight bearing down on both of them. There's one more detail in Shipman's research that makes this story even harder to ignore. No wolf dog remains have ever been found at a confirmed Neanderthal site. Not one. Neanderthals had large brains, sophisticated tools, a toolkit that, in some respects, rivaled early modern humans. But by every piece of evidence currently available, they never formed this particular partnership with any animal at all. If modern humans had a four-legged hunting ally and Neanderthals genuinely didn't, the competitive gap between the two species wouldn't have been only about intelligence or weaponry. It would have been about something else entirely. An ally that could run faster, smell sharper, and corner prey that neither species could have safely approached alone. It's important to be honest about where this theory actually stands today. This is not settled science, and Shipman has never claimed it is. Some researchers dispute whether the skulls she identifies as wolf dogs are early dogs at all, arguing they may simply represent unusually large wolves well within normal variation for the species. Others point out that the exact timeline doesn't line up perfectly between when these wolf dog remains appear and when Neanderthal populations were declining most sharply. And many anthropologists believe Neanderthal extinction had a far less dramatic explanation: simple population numbers. Modern humans may have outbred and gradually genetically absorbed Neanderthal populations through sheer demographic pressure, with no hunting partnership required at all. This remains a genuinely contested hypothesis, actively debated with new fossil and genetic evidence still emerging on both sides. But contested doesn't mean dismissed. It means the door is still open. What makes this idea worth sitting with, regardless of how the scientific debate eventually resolves, is what it reveals about where the bond between humans and dogs may have actually started. Long before a dog was anyone's companion in the comfortable, modern sense, it may have been something closer to a partner in survival. Two species, completely different in body and instinct, locked into the same hunt, depending entirely on the other's ability to read intention correctly, with no language and no margin for error. That is a very different origin story than a calm wolf simply choosing to sit by a fire and wait for scraps. It suggests the earliest version of this relationship may have been forged under far higher stakes than warmth and leftovers. It may have been forged in the open cold, in the middle of a chase, with a massive animal turning in circles between two predators who somehow understood each other well enough to win. So the next time your dog watches your hand before you've moved it, or seems to know what you're about to do before you've done it, consider where that might actually come from. Not a trick, not a coincidence. Possibly the last surviving fragment of a partnership built tens of thousands of years ago, when understanding each other wasn't a charming trait to have. It was the difference between eating and starving, between two species succeeding side by side, and one species standing alone without that partner, slowly disappearing from the world entirely.